Hey man, do you need some help?
Nah, I'm good. Just waiting for someone.
Are you broken down?
Oh, you think this is broken down? Because it's a Range Rover, that's why?
Well, no, it's a busy street. I just thought you might need some help.
No, I'm actually just waiting for someone, so you're good to go. Thanks for the offer, you're good to go.
All right, have a good day.
Jesus, these people. Oh. Hi, yes. Can I have a tow truck, please? A flatbed, if possible?
This is the Porsche Cayenne S, and this is the Range Rover Sport. Both these SUVs have something in common. They're plug-in hybrids, and today we're going to compare them.
In most cases, if I had to pick between an EV or a plug-in hybrid, it will always be a hybrid engine, especially a plug-in hybrid, because you get the best of the two worlds. You get green plates, you get battery and a petrol engine, which means you can drive either or. You can drive these things on full EV. It's amazing, especially if you live in the city. Most of the time, what you can do is just drive around on EV, bring it home, charge it, and you're good to go. For long trips, you can use either or. And they recharge as you drive, which is perfect. But you get the green plates, which is a huge help, because if you were, for example, from Toronto, take the 401, most times the 401, it's always busy. So the HOV lane is, most cases I've seen it empty. So with that, you can go straight through.
In terms of pricing, the Cayenne E Hybrid starts at about $97,000 US or $117,000 Canadian. Meanwhile, the Range Rover Sport plug-in hybrid starts at about $95,000 US or $117,000 Canadian. The Range Rover shown here is around $167,000 Canadian. Meanwhile, the Cayenne S, as shown in this video, cost about $143,000 Canadian. So why is the Range Rover more expensive?
The model that we have for today's video for the Cayenne is called the Cayenne S E Hybrid, which stands for the electric hybrid in this case, but it's plug-in hybrid. And you'll notice that by all the badges in the back and also the front. So you have a two-tone finish, the chrome and this yellow lime green style that they have around the letters, especially on the side. The same thing with the Cayenne S badge in the back, which also is painted the same way. The next thing you'll notice is, of course, the brakes, which match with that color paint choice, which I think is pretty nice. And then you have the wheels, which are different, but the way these things are designed are specific for a hybrid, so it gives you better range. I'm assuming it has to do with aerodynamics, which is perfect. But the calipers are painted to match the actual badges around it, which I think is quite interesting, as it's a way of, it's kind of like their way of making you feel like you're driving a very clean vehicle, even when you're braking. And then on this side, we've got the Range Rover Sports Autobiography plug-in hybrids. This one, it's quite interesting because they've got these wheels that don't really match with the overall design of the car. It's kind of like weird because this car is very flat. So you've got a flat front end. The actual tail lights and the headlights are very flat all around. Meanwhile, these wheels are sort of curved in, very different design. Moving on to the back side. First thing you notice with the Cayenne S is the exhaust system, which it's a quad exhaust, but it doesn't sound very aggressive. It's very subtle, which is okay. It's not a super powerful vehicle, or a V8 in this case. And then you've got the Range Rover, which is very different to the Cayenne. It's got more flat design, the tail lights, and then the glossy finish diffuser. But overall, they're very standard, and it comes down to which one you like the most. When it comes to cargo space behind the second row, they're about the same, and they offer very similar features. The difference is in the Range Rover, you get two extra options. First, you have this little divider in here that kind of separates certain areas. If you have something that might fly or that you wanted to completely fix so it doesn't move left and right and back and forth, you can use that, and then you press these and then it closes. The next thing is that both vehicles offer air ride, and you can raise the backside and lower it based on your needs, just with the buttons located in here. But the Range Rover with this package comes with two buttons to fold the seats in the second row automatically from here. You press the button and then they do the rest of the work. Now, let's jump into the second row. We'll start first with the Cayenne. First thing you need to know is that in the Cayenne, everything is kind of like manually adjustable, which I do prefer sometimes. You can do that, move back and forth, so you can give yourself more space in the second row, and then you can fold them like that. Here we go. I've set the seat in the front as if I was the driver, so that way you get an idea. I'm 6'2", and overall, very comfortable. I actually feel very, very comfortable, not tight at all. Lots of leg room, lots of head room. There's a beautiful panoramic roof all the way across, massive, to give you amazing light, and also at night gives you great visibility. You can look at the sky. Tech features, here's what you got. There's a climate unit in the back with heated seats and ventilated seats in this case, and they're quite nice, easy to use. And then we've got 2 USB-C ports, and there's some space underneath that so that you can put your phone or slide anything else. There's an armrest in the center with 2 cup holders and 1 for an espresso shot maybe. That's the way it looks. That's about it. Interior is nice, beautiful match, 2-tone color, black and red, my favorite colors. Now, let's jump into the Range Rover. Into the Range Rover Sport. The first thing you notice is that this thing is sitting so much higher. You can feel that, even my camera guy pointed that out. Next thing you need to know is that unlike the Cayenne, you can't slide the seats back and forth in here. They're actually set, but the actual recliner is powered, so you can move it back and forth and adjust it based to your needs. And then we jump in. There we go. I've set the seat in the front as if I was the driver, so that way we can compare it. This is interesting. It actually feels like a lounge in here. These seats pretty comfortable, and I'd rather be in the back of this thing than in the front. But I don't like these. Why? First, they age pretty bad. So in 3 years, the new technology is going to be in, and these things are going to suck. So not really a fan of it. Also, kids playing and have to keep it clean. I don't recommend them. On top of that, you have to adjust the seats in the front if you want to fold the seats in the back, because the headrest touches the screen. I've noticed that quite a lot. But I do appreciate these headrests, which you can kind of like put them in this position like that, and oh, it feels nice. They hold your head, and if you're going on a long trip, you can just rest your head like this and fall asleep, take a nice nap. Oh, that was good. What was I going to say next? Oh yeah, tech features. So we've got a climate unit in the back with a screen. You have heated seats and ventilated seats, but it is a bit of a learning curve. Why? Because these are pull and push buttons. One is pull and push for like the seats and also for the fan speed. And then under that, we have 2 USB-C ports. And then we've got hidden cup holders like that. Same thing here. You've got 2 major and then a small one. And then you have more space in here. But not just that, we've got 2 USB ports in here, plus HDMI cables, in case if you want to connect anything through HDMI for these screens. And of course, the screens are touchscreen in this case, and you can check the map, put requests. None of that is going to happen unless you're some sort of like CEO that is driven around, then it's different. But you can control the passenger seat in the back, because with the autobiography, you can make this into sort of like a couch style, or like a bed kind of thing, like a business class flight, something like that. So the seat moves all the way forward, and you can do it through the system in the infotainment there. You press the button and it folds the seat forward, which is really nice, because if you have a driver that drives you around, that comes in real handy. Nobody's going to sit in front of it, so you get the most space in the back, something that you don't get with the Porsche. Let's jump into the front seats for the Porsche Cayenne. Of course, for this year, we have a new interior and new exterior. It's not a new generation, more like a facelift. And a few things about the Porsche. When you jump inside, it feels more sporty than luxurious. And I think that's the theme behind their cars, is to be very driver focused, where It feels a bit like a sports car, but yet it's an SUV, sports utility vehicle. Clearly the definition, it's applied to this car. And you notice that from the steering wheel, you notice that from the dashboard, you notice that everywhere. It feels very sporty. And even the two-tone interior, which I actually do like it. I love red and black are my two favorite colors. Some of you guys will know why. And then you've got screens, many screens. We've got a cluster, which I get it, why they went digital, but I always loved their analog design. It was so special and you knew it was a Porsche thing. This, on the other hand, we've got a screen in the center, 12.3 inch, I believe. And then you get the options, you get one for the passenger as well, which I generally think is a waste of money because most passengers are on their phones. But it's nice that it's an option. And then the cluster itself, you've got different design, different layouts. You can have a full map, you can have a map on one side, gives you lots of information. Then moving on to the steering wheel. The steering wheel is something I absolutely love about this car because it actually makes you feel like you're driving a sports car. Nice pedal shifters. Then you have the driving modes on the steering wheel, which again, I'm a big fan. You've got a button in the center for boost, gives you 20 seconds of full power. If you're overtaking someone, that comes in real handy. You press that and you're gone. Overall, everything is where it should be. You're still getting screens, but also buttons. Like for the climate here in the center, you have all the buttons for your heated seats, ventilated seats, the temperature as well. Looks really nice and cool. Then you have a little space in the center here where it used to be the shift knob to use maybe for the key. Just dump in there. We've got two cup holders and there's some space in there. The first thing you notice with this thing is it's so much higher off the ground in comparison to the Cayenne. And so different on the inside when you jump in. First thing you notice that this is geared mostly towards luxury. You feel like this thing is luxurious inside. The dashboard feels like that. We've got this massive iPad in the front. I kind of like buttons, which this doesn't have any anymore. It's just everything, it's in there. It's good, but it's not great. I like buttons. But in comparison to the Cayenne, this does offer a lot of space. Like we have a compartment at the bottom, we've got one at the top, extra space. Then you've got more space underneath here. There's more space in here. In fact, you've got two cup holders, but then you slide that, you have access to more space, a USB port and a USB-C port. And then you've got the iPhone charging in here. There's some space onto the side. And in case if you need a cooler when you go camping with this, which you can do, guess what? This one has one right here with two levels, which is nice. And you've got more space here to put your coins. But this is a huge help. But there's a lot of space in this car. That's something to take away. Something that I miss in the Cayenne. When I'm driving that some days, I wish there was extra space that you can put stuff. Because at the end of the day, these are SUVs. And sometimes they're used for families. One thing I don't like about the Range Rover is the infotainment display. I find it to be a little bit annoying at certain times. Like not everything is where it should be. But you do get a lot of options. And some of the things that I enjoy about this car are the off-road options, because it is a Range Rover. You get quite a lot of off-road options. In fact, this comes with traction control, low traction, high traction. You also get lock-in differential in the middle and the back, so in case if you're stuck. And you've got different driving modes, which the Porsche does have. But when it comes to off-road, this car can do a lot more than the Cayenne can. So if you're looking into taking this to a cottage area where you're going through a bit of an off-road and deep areas and mud and water, and you're always concerned about getting stuck, this will do the job more than fine because it is Range Rover Sport. And I've taken these things off-road. They can do a lot of things off-road. The seats are very comfortable and you can adjust the headrest. As I mentioned, in the second row, gives you the most comfort. If you're driving, will hold your head nice and straight, so you kind of like relax the muscles over here, and it's perfect. The sitting position in this car is much higher in comparison to the Porsche, but I will say that this car has the best position for me. For me, this car has the best sitting position because you actually feel like you're sitting in the car, not on the car. The steering wheel is positioned perfectly. The Porsche is just a bit lower, but it's not bad. This, it's perfect for someone my height. Okay, that's quick. That was quick. My phone flew off somewhere. I'm just gonna let it sit there. Shouldn't be touching it. That was quick. And that's because this beauty uses a 3-liter V6 turbocharged engine, and with the electric motors, it makes 512 brake horsepower and 552 pound-feet of torque. And that's made it to an 8-speed automatic transmission. 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. That's impressive what this thing can do. It weighs about 5,500 pounds, which is lighter than the new BMW M5. But it's quick. You put your foot down in Sport Plus mode, it's like... And you can hear the electric motor too from inside. Could be because of the speakers. Battery in this case is a 25.9 kilowatts an hour. It's got electric motors which help to work together with the engine, giving that combined output of 512, 513 brake horsepower. And the beautiful thing about this is that on a single charge, you can get up to 85, 90 kilometers just on EV. In fact, 4 days out of 7 days that I have this car, I only drove it in BEV because it kept charging itself. I kept going to places where there was a charger, so I never got to use the ICE engine at all. Pretty shocking. Very fuel efficient. Now, we did a test today, of course, with both the Range Rover and the Cayenne, and we reset the trip when we started the trip, which gave about close to 100 kilometers of driving. The Cayenne was able to achieve, with one person inside, both driving right beside each other or right in front of each other, at 9.9 liters per 100 kilometers, which I have to say, it's actually not bad, taking consideration that this is an SUV. It is very good in terms of fuel efficiency. And of course, you get the beautiful green plates, but also that electric range helps quite a lot. You can have different modes for the vehicle. You get the e-hybrid, you got EV only, where it only drives in EV. Very smooth relationship between the electric motor and the engine, because you put your foot down and that transition between electric to petrol or vice versa is smooth. So you don't even notice that. Of course, the engine. The car drives really nice, smooth. The suspension is not as stiff as you had expected. The air ride is really good, but I do notice to be not as soft as the Range Rover. If you like a bit of a stiffness, and I think around the corners this thing handles better because of that suspension setup, you might like the Porsche. In my opinion, the Range Rover feels a lot softer on the road than this. And even around this area, we've got some bumpy areas, but not as bumpy. This thing handles pretty well. You don't hear much of the road noise, as well isolated on the inside. Visibility in the back is okay. It helps having a sunroof to bring some of that light inside. It's comfortable for daily. The seats hug you. They're kind of like bucket style, but not fully bucket, which I think most people like a bit of a tight seat. For me, being a bit of a tall guy, honestly, I like a bit of a couch style seat for day to day. The Range Rover Sport plug-in hybrid uses a 3-liter inline-6 engine with, of course, the electric motors and a battery, which combined makes 543 brake horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque, which is more than what the Porsche makes. But it uses an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is, of course, all-wheel drive, but it weighs 6,200 pounds, which is almost 700, 800 pounds heavier than the Cayenne S, which also translates into 5.6 seconds slower than the Cayenne, which on a drag race, the Cayenne would win. But having said that, it actually, when you put your foot down, you can feel the power, including the heaviness. It does feel heavy in comparison to the Cayenne S, and understandably so, because it is equipped with so much in terms of the drivetrain. Don't forget, you have lock-in differentials, low traction modes. Things are very different underneath this car in comparison to the Cayenne. This thing can be taken essentially off-road. It is capable to do so. Range, you get about 90 kilometers on a single charge, and I've gotten that. It's very good in terms of range. Fuel efficiency. Today, the test that we did, this managed to get 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers, which is better than what the Cayenne gave us. And that is, of course, about 100 kilometers or so. Cayenne was 9.9, this is 9.2. Now, it's not a huge difference, but this one did do better. That's just a fact. Now, in terms of driving experience, for me, I noticed the softness and the comfort level that this offers is very different to the Cayenne. How these cars drive and how they feel on the interior are extremely different. And that includes the height of the vehicle, the sitting position. For me, this car fits me. It's perfect for someone my height. I love the cluster, it's in the perfect position. I'm not looking down, I'm not looking high. It's just perfect. The comfort level of the seat, the massage right now, doing the job perfectly. This car, for me, feels like the best daily. That's not to say that the Cayenne is not comfortable, but this one has such a soft ride, which some people may not like it because they like that stiffness. When you go around the corner, it hugs the road. This, on the other hand, feels like a boat going left and right. That's something that people might not like. I personally feel like it's perfect for me. I love this too. Oh, it keeps you so relaxed, including the neck. You're not working too hard, and on a long trip, this thing comes in real handy. It's so good for your neck. You're just resting. I enjoy the drive of this car so much for day to day that I've been thinking about actually buying one as my daily. I don't drive enough to have a car like this, in my opinion. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. Like, I barely drive. But this is such a good family car for space, for comfort, and also being fuel efficient. Both vehicles are great in their own ways. They offer so much, whether it's the range, whether it's the sportiness, whether it is the speed. Of course, the Cayenne being the fastest of the two. But having said that, to me, for day-to-day, I would enjoy the Range Rover a bit more than the Cayenne S, because the soft rides, the comfort, the sitting position, the space inside. I love the extra compartments around here. I think they come in real handy, especially when you have kids or if you have a lot of things carrying around. And sometimes women do carry a lot of things around more than men. They have their handbags, their phone, their extra things that they carry around. And if you have a kid, you still have more things to carry around. I think the Range Rover just fits that spot perfectly for me. It fills it in nicely. And that's what I love it. But both, you couldn't go wrong with either or. Fantastic SUVs.